Hi folks, this is James Tomlinson here on the field above Irvine in Ayrshire. Probably you've seen several of my DVDs before on YouTube doing a variety of different casting techniques, particularly distance fly casting. What I'm doing today is something much different. I'm using very short fly rods, only 6 feet and 7 feet in length. Now a lot of people in the past have thought that only short rods are suitable for small river and stream fishing where short distances are obtainable. But if you watch the technique today, I'll be using light lines on this 6 foot rod, 3 weight and 4 weight, and you'll see how it's possible to get 100 feet, nearly up to 115 feet with light tackle by using a slightly different technique. Also, you'll notice that this rod here is only 6 feet in length and the weight is approximately under 1.5 ounces. It weighs only 1.6 ounces. Now if you look at the light reel, this is a very small reel and the combined weight of the rod, reel and line is only 4.5 ounces. Now if you compare that with, let's say, a 9 to a 10 foot rod and you've got a 7.5 ounce reel, the total weight may be as much as 13 or 14 ounces. So what you've got here in your hand is something like 4.5 ounces, and to say the lightest practical fly fishing equipment in the world. So if you watch the technique, you see how it's possible to cast up easily to 100 feet with a double tapered fly line. This is a double tapered 3 weight line, and then I'll change over to a 4 weight, and it's normally going over up to 115 feet. Right folks, what now we've got here, this is a 6 foot rod. I'm using this with a 3 weight line. As I said earlier on in the introduction, people have thought in the past that short rods with very light lines are only suitable for fishing in bushed areas and where the conditions are very condensed. But you can see here with a faster line speed and the correct technique, you can cast up to 100 feet without any great difficulty. Now this is a double tapered 3 weight line, and as I say, the rod is only 6 feet in length, but if you build up a very fast line speed with a double tapered line and extend the length of line to the rear, you're getting more weight with a double tapered 3 weight line. If you watch here, you can see how you can reach the 100 foot mark fairly easily with that type of equipment. Now you watch here, you must make sure that you have sufficient length of line beyond the rod tip in order to load the rod properly. If you have something which is very light, a 3 weight line is quite light, now it wouldn't flex the rod sufficiently enough to load it to get the forward cast going fast enough. So if you watch here, I'm actually extending the line to the rear and getting more weight with the back cast. Stand it to the rear, let it straighten, and then see how you can get the line turning over if you aim for a fairly high trajectory. A lot of people make the mistake in distance casting of chopping down with the rod and line, but if you hold the elevation fairly high, you get a much higher elevation and you can get the line turning over and remaining longer in the air, particularly with light lines. You want to try and build up a very high line speed and also extend the length of line to the rear so you have more weight with a very light line. Speed up. Now if you watch at the moment of release, if you carry the power towards the front of your body and then turn over your wrist very fast, you can get the loop tightening up, and therefore you get much greater line speed. And also if you aim fairly high and forward, and let the line and rod drift down onto the water, and you get a much better presentation. I'll now like to move on to a 4-weight line, and you can see how you can get above the 100-foot mark. Obviously the line's still double tapered, but it's a bit heavier, and that gives more flex in the tip of the rod, and cast that bit further with the 4-weight line. But certainly with these 6-foot rods, you can actually use them on still water fishing as well as with light streams if you can get that extra distance. And it's purely a change in the technique. Normally, as I say, short rods and light lines are used in streams and very small stretches of water. But if you actually speed up and extend the line to the rear and give more flex in the tip, you can see how you can actually load the rod better and get more distance. So what we've got here now is a double tapered 4-weight line with a 6-foot rod. Now don't worry about the short length of the rod. If you have correct arm movement, you'll see how you get the line fully straightened, pause, and then just let it go. Now if you watch here, that's what happens if you slow down on your line speed. Now what to make sure you've got the proper line speed at the highest possible moment when you release it. Now if you watch this movement here, you'll find that the line and the rod is compressed and flexed properly. Now if you watch what I'm doing here, taking that off there, and if you watch the back cast, it's fully straightened, and then going to the forward movement, just let the back cast straighten out, and then see the whole line turns over properly. Now if you slow down in any of the movements with light lines, you don't get any speed at all, so you must build up a very, very fast line speed, particularly with a short rod and 3 and 4 weight lines. These are double tapered lines, and I said before, increase the length of line in the air in your back cast, and that gives you more weight in the line. Up, right, back cast, spool, and then you can get many yards of the backing going behind the 4-weight line, and that gives you well over 100 feet. And in the past, normally these short rods and light lines were used, as I said before, in streams and small stretches of water, but you can see how you could use this in reservoir and fishing for rainbow trout and some of the larger waters. But make sure that straight behind, pause, up, out it goes. This is a 30-yard line. You can see how you're getting the whole line going out and several yards of the backing going behind this 4-weight double tapered line. Keep up, and the hand movement, raise the hand fairly high in the back cast, stop, forward, pause, down, up, let the line, and you see how you can get several yards of the backing, I say, going behind the 4-weight. Very useful to fish short rods, as I said, in bushy areas, but you wrongly think they're not suitable for, you know, fishing at distance. but these actually are much lighter. As I said, this rod only weighs under 1.5 ounces, probably the lightest fly rod in the world at the moment, and you can see how it's fairly soft action rod with that double tapered 4-weight line, and as I say, the reels are very light as well. You've only really got about 5 ounces in your hand, and very, very light and comfortable to fish with. Let it straighten, pause, up, pause. You see how the whole line can go out, as I say, a 30-yard line and several yards of the backing going behind it. Very easy to use these short rods, and if you think about it, I'm not a big believer in 4-piece rods. Sometimes you get some of the sections oscillating, but with a 6-foot length, it's just a 3-foot section folded up, so it's fairly comfortable to carry. Again, build up, fast line speed, hold up, pause, hold, out it goes. So what I've got here now, I've moved on to a 7-weight rod, and this is actually a 5 double tapered line, and you can see how you can get very good distances with this short 7-foot rod. Let the line completely straighten this, let it straight, and then there we go. Now that's going well over, that's well over the 100-foot mark. If you watch here, that's up to 115 feet with the heavier 5 double tapered line. Again, keep up a higher line speed with the short rods and have proper arm movement. Don't drift too far back with your wrist, otherwise you'll get caught. Just let the line fully straighten. Straighten up in the back cast. Pause, forward, high up. You can see how the line's well over. That's actually going up to nearly 120 feet mark with that 5 double tapered 5 line. So you can see how useful it is to be able to cast a good distance with the shorter rods. I'll move further back from the red area we're standing. See how you can get up to, just let the line fully straightened, flex the rod to the maximum, and then go into your forward cast. Pause, flex, let it up. There's well over 100, that must be up towards the 40-yard mark with that double tapered 5-weight. And you see how you can get the whole line going out. That's a 30-yard line, and then the backing line going after it, purely with increasing the line speed and aiming fairly high in your forward cast. Pause, get up, high up, up, height. Now if you go down past if I walk down past the 100-foot mark, you can see how you can well over 100, you can right up to nearly 120 feet. Now there's the leader straightening out, just roughly, that's another 15 feet beyond the 100-foot mark. Now that's with a fairly light line, that's with a 5 double tapered line. Now if you add on the other 3 yards beyond the red marker, you're up towards the 40-yard mark with the light line. Now remember to not drift and open up your wrist too much in your back cast. Keep the speed going up. Speed, poise, fast as possible. High up. There it goes. Now this is a long belly weight forward fly line, and you can see how you can get well beyond the 100 feet with this weight forward. It's a 5 weight, but it's a fairly long belly, and as I say, just keep up the high line speed with these short rods. This is a rod of only 7 foot in length, and you see you don't require 9, 10 and 11 foot rods when you're fishing single-handed to get distance. You can see you can get very good distance with line fully straightened. Straight, poise, back, and the whole line goes out. You see how you're getting about 8 yards of the backing, orange backing going behind it. Now that's with a long belly 5 weight line, so it just shows you how with shorter rods that they're very, very efficient with the proper technique to get good distances, and they're very useful to fish all day, very, very light, and you can fish in condensed areas, as I said earlier on in this DVD. Just let the line fully straighten, poise, let it straight into the rear, back, up, forward. Now the whole line goes out. Make sure that you don't drop the back cast too much when you're using short rods, otherwise you're going to catch up in the grass or the water behind you. Have a fairly high back cast so that the line, and to do that you must keep up a fairly high line speed. Have fast movement, forward, up. There it goes.